Hi, Shirley here, and today I'm here with another episode of Spirit of Matter. And I'm going to work on the chart of Paul Feyerabend. He is a philosopher of science, was born in 1924 in Vienna, Austria. Was considered a sort of an anarchist, and I will delve into his birth details and data and chart. I will see if I will do a prediction before I head straight to the chart. A little bit about Feyerabend and my personal relation to this person. I actually reached him when I was considering a philosophy of science paradigm for my thesis proposal in the epistemic view of the body-mind question in medicine. And this actually began with the thesis that wanted to address the connection between the political context and scientific revolutions. During my first degree, I noticed that the paradigms that we were taught of Kuhn, of the shifting of scientific paradigms, were not so much in correlation with certain development in colonialism and psychiatry, although some would say psychiatry is not a science even today. And so I was looking for another way to look at things, and I found Feyerabend, which is often misunderstood and criticized for things that he didn't actually say. And I realized that's where I want to go. That's what I want to introduce, as well as a mathematical model of chaos, a chaotic system, a dynamic chaotic system that could perhaps predict shifts and turns in both political context and scientific thought, so scientific revolutions. That was a very big topic for a thesis. And I went with this thing to my beautiful instructor, who was very welcoming of my giant aspirations, Sun in Sag, needless to say. And what he told me was a sentence that struck me. And he said, as an MD, he was also an MD aside of being a professor in my department. And he said, as an MD, when I read Feyerabend with his anything goes and anarchism of methods to define science, I don't know how to treat a patient. And so this was a very grounding saying. This was a very grounding statement that kind of took me from the paradigms out there into practical science, practical implications of the philosophy of science, how to treat patients, the field of medicine. And so I was excited to do something about medicine. Let's help my instructor treat patients, right? Using philosophy of science. And he introduced me to Larry Loudon, which would later say something that is not too far from what Feyerabend says according to my beliefs. I'm talking about late Larry Loudon, the 1990s Larry Loudon, who would talk about various degrees of how conservative or innovative we are, how relaxed we are about a concept called epistemic standards for empiricism. That is beyond method. It's how do we conceive the world? What are our standards for something to be empirical knowledge? And so there were innovative people who were more relaxed about what they consider empirical evidence, and then the conservatives who were more rigorous and perhaps more yang, while the innovators were more yin, more intuitive. And what made the scientific discourse reach more consensus was usually a technological development that allowed that which was unobservable to be observed and analyzed in rigorous methods. So that was Loudon, but before him came Feyerabend, and I'd like to address his chart. As you can see, I'm very excited about this. This person makes me smile. I feel a sense of liberation and freedom, and I wonder what will I see in the chart energetically when I think about this person, because I think that my honest reply after having spent since I guess 2015, we are now in 2021. Yeah, that's 6 years in the field of exploring the body-mind question, of different medicines, of different medical methods to treat people. I'm much more close to Feyerabend. I don't have anything smart to say to my instructor. I don't have anything that would make it any more orderly for him to decide on the right paradigms. And that's a huge topic. I may address this in later episodes. But that was the way I relate to Feyerabend. And let's talk about Feyerabend himself. Now that you've seen sort of how biased I am, being honest about it, you know. Let's see the data. So, no. Paul Feyerabend. So I'm not going to look at the chart. Okay, so philosopher of science, best known for his work as professor of philosophy at the University of California, Berkeley, worked for 3 decades. Wow, 3 decades in the academia. Lived, okay. So he lived in England, United States, New Zealand, Italy, Germany, and finally in Switzerland. I would expect a very mobile home, so either 4th house in Sag, fourth ruler of the 4th in the 9th, yeah, something like that. Ruler of the 4th in the 9th, 4th house in Sag, something like that. 9th house in Sag and ruler of the 4th in the 9th, ruler of the 9th in the 4th, kind of these relations. And his major works include Against Method, that was the anything goes thingy, Science in a Free Society, and Farewell to Reason. So he became famous for his anarchistic view of science and the rejection of the existence of universal methodological rules. Okay, universal methodological rules is the thought or the paradigm that there is a set of processes that when we conduct on a given data set, the product of this process would be a concrete, valid, rigorously scientific paradigm that holds water, that has good explanatory power. And what we need to do, we need to get the input of the data, the hypotheses, the research questions, put them through the process, and then the output would be a valid scientific paradigm. Okay, that's the concept of having some sort of universal methodological rules. Feyerabend was influential in philosophy of science, sociology of scientific knowledge, and yes, died in 1994. Okay. So let's think about what would his 9th house be like. Revolutionary. So definitely I would expect a Mercury-Uranus thingy or Saturn-Uranus thingy. When we talk about revolution, we talk about change in structure, dealing with revolution. So definitely contacts between the 9th and the 10th, and Uranus, Aquarius, Mercury, Saturn, and of course Capricorn. Let's say if I'd see a 9th house in Capricorn, I would be the most surprised person on earth. Yeah, something very anarchistic. So the archetype of Aquarius relate a lot to anarchy. So I'd expect to see prominent, maybe even the ruler of, maybe even ascendant in Aquarius, or the ruler of Aquarius being in a prominent house or in the 9th. Yes, something to do there with Aquarius. Maybe even in Aquarius 7th houses, we've seen that Georg Kreisler. Was it Kreisler? Was it Kreisler? I don't remember. So I'd see that prominent 11th house. We were talking about his, it was some sort of an activism, you know, sociology of scientific knowledge. It's a very activist stance. So maybe ruler of the 9th in the 11th, ruler of the 11th in the 9th, ruler of the 10th in the 11th, which is very common for public thinkers and public figures and public authors. But with him, for a more Aquarian archetypal reasons. Anything else I want to say about this person? Yeah, I want to talk about the anything goes, because people criticized his anything goes. Realize what he literally said there is that we cannot predict which methodology yield good scientific revolutions, revolutionary scientific theories and paradigms and advancement in science. And he went, I think it was in Against Method, he went through the scientific revolutions, I think from Copernicus, maybe perhaps even beforehand, to Galileo, to later revolutions, and literally showed that there was no one method, no one process that we could say yielded these shifts in scientific discourse. Okay, so of course he was looking into cosmology, into physics. That's what most philosophers of science did back then. So you'd have to know a bit of physics, you'd have to know a bit of mathematics, cosmology, perhaps in previous years even astrology to do that. And that was the anything goes. It's not anything goes and you can, and everything you say is scientifically valid. It literally means that we cannot predict one set of processes, that we have an input of chaotic data and an output of coherent theory that is valid and is concrete and holds good explanatory power. That was the anything goes. That's to all the people who are criticizing his anarchism. I think it's irrational to criticize that. Not because, no, to critique of course is rational, but it is irrational to think otherwise if we look at the facts and if we actually read Against Method. So understanding that there is something more chaotic going on in our scientific endeavor than we have perhaps predicted or wanted to tame with reason. That's as to the anything goes. Let's look at the chart. Okay, that's Feyerabend's chart. He was born in 13 January 1924 in Vienna, Austria, 11 p.m. Universal Time 22. And we have, interestingly enough, Pluto in Cancer, MC in Cancer, 10th house in Cancer. Okay, and an 11th house in Leo with Neptune there. 9th house in Gemini. What's going on? MC, AC in Libra. And that would make his 7th house in Aries house. Uranus in Pisces in the 6th. 12th in Virgo. Rahu in Virgo in the 12th. So 12th is tapping into collective unconsciousness. And we see a Virgo-like, detail-oriented, perhaps dealing with methods and processes, a mercurial thingy, methods and processes can be seen here. It's 4th house in Capricorn. Where's Saturn? In the 2nd in Scorpio. Heaven knows what's going on here. 3rd house in Sag. Where would all these travels be? Maybe Rahu and Jupiter in Sag in conjuncting Pluto. Uranus trines Pluto in the 10th. So we see already a connection between Uranus and the 10th house. Where is the Sun? In the 4th. Okay, I'm looking at the data. This is what I have. Where's Mercury? in the 4th as well, in Capricorn, conjuncting the Sun, in conjunction to Neptune, and harsh aspects to the Moon, nice aspects to Mars. So Uranus contacting harmoniously Pluto. This means that, and we see Pluto is conjuncting the MC. So Pluto and MC together, in the midheaven together, give us a life path that is transformative, a very potent personality that came to transform something. Cancer is interesting here. And then the ruler of the 9th in the 4th, I mean Capricorn, I don't know what. We know Capricorn is something concrete. It's an earth sign. Also detail-oriented, rigorous, but it's in the 4th. Primary education, but this is not, you know, the 9th house education. I have to admit that I see a couple of stuff here that are interesting. First, you know, Mercury receiving a very uncomfy angle to Neptune. So Neptune, Leo 11th, definitely Leo in the 11th could give us something somewhat of a perhaps charismatic character. But then it in conjuncts the Sun and Mercury. So this gives us a kind of thought pattern that is not the most, you know, not the most grounded, even though Mercury is in an earth sign, not the most grounded thought pattern, not the most grounded mind processes. It definitely can show some bias. Have to acknowledge the facts. Definitely Pluto and Mercury and Uranus there. You know, the 6th house is our daily work. It's what we do every day. So revolutionary day-to-day work related to the career. Very supportive of his life path. But then the thought process is kind of not his strongest. Not his strongest. Yeah, I have to admit it. Even though I accept most of what he said. Yeah, Pluto also in conjunct Jupiter in Sag. The Moon is in the 7th. So 7th house related to the career house, and the Moon is also not comfy with Mercury. So perhaps emotional discord with the mental processes. 7th house related to the 10th, so one-to-one relationships, very much related to career. But then I don't see anything that is especially significant. Aquarius is in the 5th, and its ruler and it has Venus there, and its ruler is in Pisces in the 6th, the modern, and whereas Saturn is in the 2nd. Second house, okay, you can, you know, 2nd house is our finances, but it's also values. It's actually something of a delay, something of actually traditional values. You know, it's not a worldview, and the worldview, perhaps the home or the homeland or the motherland helps shaping the worldview, but in a way that is kind of even delusional. I can definitely see how methods and being involved with the methods can be seen with the 12th house in Virgo. This is a night chart. So Saturn is malefic, and but yeah, Doesn't tell us much more than that. Ascendant in Libra can definitely, this was a social anarchist. I wouldn't say that anarchy is so much denoted by Libra, to say the least. That being said, Libra is about balancing out things. So perhaps trying to reach sort of a balanced life path. And Venus is in the 5th in Aquarius. Again, the ruler of the ascendant. The ruler of the ascendant in Aquarius, a very potent, influential, transformative character. We have Pluto in Cancer. Pluto in Cancer can be political, and 10th house is also political house. 7th house is also political house. Social workers, social, sociology. Yes, definitely sociology can be. It's not a big stretch to relate displacement to sociology. And displacement to methodology, to criticizing the methodology, but we see his Rahu was there. So this was actually, Rahu is what the soul did not do in past life. So that would put his Keto in the 6th, in Pisces. So, and this is also house of health and well-being and enemies, but it's less relevant to our point of discussion. But this actually means that this whole idea of thought processes and methods is something that Feyerabend's soul did not do. Now this is, it has a pro and a con. The pro is that this person can look at methodology with fresh eyes, with the eyes of a child that is first exposed to the idea of the scientific method and the democration question of science, of what is science, and looks at it with fresh eyes. Okay, and say, okay, look at this, look at this, look at this. Can you tell that there is a process that can yield a scientific valid method? No. So this is actually a pro here, where he could do something from fresh new eyes. The con is that he has not done this before. So he's not experienced with this topic of looking into the philosophy of epistemic standards for empiricism, the philosophy of epistemology, the philosophy of the scientific method. It's something that would be new to him. If indeed this is the signal of what he did professionally, tapping into the collective unconsciousness of how do we create science. So that's not something that his soul has done before, with the pros and cons that go with it. Let me see if I want to say anything more about this chart. Okay. Neptune in the 11th can give us a person who is misunderstood. I think we saw this with, oh gosh, who did we see that with? I think Einstein, but I'm not sure. And this is a person, for example, if I take a look at his anything goes saying, that he said publicly, his public image was not so clear. People did not see him so clearly. They did not see his paradigm so clearly. They did not understand him so clearly. They criticized him for things that he did not say with his anything goes. So a person that we look at and we think we see one thing, but it's actually another. This can also give us a very artistic person, poetic even, although that was less the case with, as far as I know, about Feyerabend. So the ruler of the 6th in the 11th. Pardon. Anything more I want to say about this man? Scorpio. Yeah, I'm looking mainly at these houses. Gemini. Gemini in the 9th house can give us a mercurial person that is somewhat contradictory. In my previous episode of Matter and Spirit, I talked about Mercury and Jupiter, and Mercury being the nervous system and Mercury also being contradictory, playing the devil's advocate. So perhaps a more anarchistic point of view to a discourse to try to generalize a scientific method and think of a unified methodology for science, playing the devil's advocate in that scene can very much be denoted by the 9th house. And the ruler is in the 4th. Probably his thought process was shaped by events that happened in the 4th. Maybe even his primary, maybe he even saw this at school. I don't know enough about his life. It could be something, 4th is also primary education. This could be a person who sat at school and learned about the methods of science and was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Later, he would go to the 9th and would do that academically and would play the devil's advocate academically, or something that happened at home. But again, Mercury is not supported with Neptune, and it's not supported emotionally by the moon. So there can be a lot of bias around this, as much as I don't like to admit it, because I really like his paradigms. I really like what he did. I really think he was a very important voice to the world. Yet I cannot ignore the fact that his Mercury was not in a good relationships with the planet of illusion and disillusionment. Can't ignore it. I don't like it. But speaking about, cosmology and science and trying to locate scientific paradigms that are concrete, that are in alignment, that are cohesive, that have good explanatory powers, I would look for good conditions for the creation of these paradigms in the natal chart. And those were not, those are not the best conditions for it. It doesn't mean that someone cannot overcome this if he's staying grounded, because we do have the support of an earth sign. We do have the support of Capricorn being an earth sign and Mercury being there. But we also still have to deal with the transpersonal planet connecting to a personal planet. And here is another facet. Whenever we have transpersonal planets in connection with the personal planets, then we can see, a more societal, generational theme relating to a personal planet. Here, for example, Neptune. So Neptune, it can denote the spirituality. I would not relate it to science so much. Public image, Neptunian creativity, maybe creative paradigms if we try to be more concrete, contacting a personal planet, Mercury. And so one has to nourish Mercury and ground their thinking and practice Neptune, heal Neptune in the 11th. So deal with the concept of illusions around maybe societal paradigms and sociology while nourishing the nervous system. And I don't speak concretely because I don't know how to do that. But that would be the road to go, to nourish Neptune, do the societal work related to Neptune while nourishing the inner planet. Same with the sun. What do we have here? We have Pluto and Uranus creating harsh aspects to Jupiter. Jupiter is in Sag in the third, so definitely perhaps writing his papers, writing collection of papers could be seen in the third, and again, philosophy, science is very much Sagittarian, so Uranus contacting Jupiter here can very, Jupiter strengthening the philosopher, the scientist, and the connection to Uranus that is an action potential, so revolutionary thinker that wrote papers like you would write a blog today. So that can be seen in the third house. It's definitely something we can talk about. And he could find his joy there. By Jupiter is also where we find joy. So writing these papers, doing his revolutionary scientific work on a cyclic level would be something that he would find joy in, albeit the harsh aspects. And have an inconjunct to Pluto here. So again, transformation, but in a way that is unpredictable, right? You remember I addressed the 150 as the Uranian aspect, unpredictable, sudden. The evolutionary would read it as painful as Chironian. Okay, perhaps because it is unpredictable. So unpredictable paths of research that could somehow deal with painful transformations, perhaps in his life. And perhaps unpredictable relations with his peers as well. That is, he was criticized, I think, also by his peers at his time. Yeah, so that's the relations we see between the inner and outer planets. And of course, when we have Pluto next to the MC, we see a person that will have generational importance. For example, if I would have a client with Pluto next to the MC and would tell me, oh, I'm having difficulties in life, I'm having difficulties in my career, I'm having difficulties in my inner planets, the houses where my inner planets are, I would say, you have a role in society that is generational, and you need to practice your 10th, and you need to do your MC, your midheaven work, so that you can release this energy and heal, because there is too much density in your personal chart. So you need to release this energy. You need to do your work on a generational level, on a societal level, and have the impact on the external world, and so the energy would be expanded and released. With Neptune, it's more difficult. Neptune is also surrender. So surrendering to whatever people would say, people would think, the criticism, and letting things take their course, perhaps would be a good form of action with Neptune. And yeah, and these are the inner planets. And Uranus, doing a daily work that is in a unpredictable, innovative, revolutionary, at work, at the day-to-day routines, a good way to practice Uranus in the 6th and release the energy from the midheaven and from Jupiter. So, which is what he did. Now let's go to how am I biased. So I will do a synastry because it's easier. So let's go to synastry, extended chart selection. Yes, thank you. Let's see, how and why am I biased when it comes to Feyerabend? So we have a synastry of me and Feyerabend. I want whole sign houses. Oh, and he had an asteroid on his name. Oh, I want to do the asteroid one. So let's look for the asteroid. There is an asteroid on his name, after his name. So I want to put it in the chart as well. Asteroid Feyerabend. Okay, so this is asteroid number 22356. This is asteroid Feyerabend. Let's add True Lilith, Chiron. No. Come on, computer. Work, 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 work. Yeah, my computer is having fun with me. So who would I wonder? I definitely want Juno. Yes, I will wait. But work. Oh, please don't do that. I definitely want Juno because Juno is significant soul contract or soul contacts we have in our life. So I'd expect to see relations from Juno to my personal charts. This is not happening. No. Okay, let's see. Juno. Oh, this is annoying. Let me try this again. This is where our computers goes a bit berserk. So a little bit on why do I do that? Oh, no. I always check a synastry composite for me and the people that I present, because this can show you what do I project on them, how do I relate to them. Yes. And basically, where are the biases? With Copernicus, we saw that he brought Neptune into, I think, my 9th house. So when that happens, let's hope it's going to be kinder to us. So when such a thing happens, all signs, the asteroid, yes, 22356. We'll have Chiron, we'll have Juno. Vesta is what we dedicate ourselves to. Maybe Vertex and Part of Fortune. Yeah, those things are less. Maybe Galactic Center. Yeah. Okay, that's done. So I don't know what asteroid Feyerabend means in terms of astrology, but it is interesting to see that his asteroid Feyerabend is in Aquarius. I don't know what it means, but that's just for fun. Let's do a synastry. Thank you. Synastry. Great. Sometimes I can do it by heart, but sometimes the houses get so messed up that I need to see the chart. So my 4th is his 9th. That would make my 3rd his 10th. No, his 3rd my 10th. Okay, so he brings Vesta and the Galactic Center. He brings Jupiter to my Uranus. Jupiter to my Uranus. Okay, Jupiter to my Uranus. Jupiter would make me rejoice in something. Rejoice perhaps in my career field. Yeah, I don't know. But that's interesting. It brings joy to my 10th. To my 9th, he brings his Mars and he brings Saturn next to my Pluto. Don't have anything smart to say about that. His ascendant is in my 8th. His Rao is in my 7th. He brings Neptune to my 6th, so to my work, day-to-day work. Have something delusional was there. To my 5th, he was bringing his 10th, so perhaps a sense of joy. Talking about his career, talking about him as a public figure. kind of something that I would do for fun. Veshta here next to part of fortune and his midheaven, so something that I can feel dedicated to maybe. Where are our Junos? To my second house, he brings his moon in Chiron. To my first house, he brings Uranus. To my 12th house, he's bringing his Feyerabend and Venus. And to my 11th house, he's bringing the Sun, his Sun in Capricorn, and Mercury. So, and I have Feyerabend in Capricorn. I don't know what that means, but that's what he's bringing. You know, his Sun there. So to my 11th. So even me talking about him publicly can definitely be denoted by that. He's talking about his mind processes in public and in a very grounded way, Capricornian way, Saturnian way, also, you know, critical way. Although I really love the person. I think that's what I have to say. Let's do a composite. Back to chart selection. Composite. You see, I expose you to a thought process. This is not refined episodes. These are raw. And they're raw for a reason, also because I'm a raw person, but also because I want to present you with the thought process rather than just the product. So if we have Pluto in the 9th, opposition in Mercury, let's see if there's anything interesting here. MC, Veshta, all of these things. I don't know if I see anything special. You know, we're not a couple, so the Rahu here is irrelevant. Juno. Where was his Juno? I don't remember. The 3rd house is packed with stuff that make harsh aspects to Jupiter and Pluto. Nothing smart to say about that. Maybe you do. But I'm going to take a look at where was his Juno. Let's see if it shows me. Yes, let's do another synastry again. See if we can cover all the biases. But I said synastry, not composite. I said synastry. Okay. Yes, that is very much not in alignment with what I asked for. Giving me the composite again. No, composite. Oh, this is annoying. I just want to know where his Juno was. Thank you. Back to chart selection. So we are having synastry chart. Yes. Again. Of course, we have to take into account that the hour is probably not the most accurate. And so this person's Juno was in my 8th house. Not significant. Not next to my MC or something like that. And not creating any interesting aspects, I think, with me in any way, shape, or form. So that was Feyerabend. I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised. Let's see. The synastry again. Yeah, I did not expect this. But it's it's good to know. So that was Feyerabend, Paul Feyerabend. Let me know in the comments below if you have anything more to say about these charts. You saw these charts, and I will put a link to Feyerabend, to who he was and his work in the description. And yeah, I'd expected. I don't know, what did I expect? I mean, I had my predictions, but let's say, I saw Cancer in the 10th. I was like, what? Gemini, okay, I can handle that. But you see, sometimes that data is unexpected, and we need to process that. There are pros and cons to this chart. There are things that are more concrete and things that are perhaps more delusional to the thinker himself. And so I also learned from this, what would a thinker who brings stuff that is concrete and balanced and cohesive, what would his chart be like? But then, a person could have a chart that is very conflictual and still bring something very concrete to the world. So it's not so predictable. I'll finish with that. Do subscribe if you want more videos from me, see more episodes of Spirit of Matter. Click the bell and choose all notifications so that you will get notified when I upload a future video. Share with people who are fitting for the discourse. I'd much rather have a few viewers that really enjoy my stuff and are cooperative and learn from that and grow and give me good suggestions for further episodes than have, a giant crowd of people who are not, fit for a good discourse. And so I'm not being too aggressive in my marketing or my promoting of this series. Yeah, that's what I have to say, right? That's what I have to say. If you want to support this series, you can contact me to support the series and get a personal reading from me. And note that when I do readings, I focus on self-discovery, self-growth. I will not tell you when will you find the love of your life, or should you do this or should you do that. But more like general statements. Where is your joy? How to practice with the outer planets? How to initiate with Mars? All these things that are specific to you, but also very general, and can give you good value regardless of even the transit that you're going. And I can definitely look at the transit and look at what you're going through right now, and give you some tips and support for that. So that's the spirit of my readings. It's a lot more experimental than a consultant type, but there is also consultation. I do give value when I have something of value to say. So I'll see you in my next episode. Boy, the quality is horrible because it's already becoming darker. And yeah, we'll see each other in the next episode. Have a lovely evening or morning or whatever time of your day. Bye.